So we understand there's a new directive from the Kigali City Council that all people that need to put up their billboards need to seek approvals, first of all, before putting them up. If you could briefly tell us why this move and what does it aim to achieve at the end of the day?
Okay, thank you very much. For the last how many years, the area of outdoor advertisement has didn't have any standards, didn't have any regulations, and presently, actually last year, that's when we started the process of developing guidelines that should be followed by this industry of outdoor advertisement in Kigali. There are different things that have to be addressed about congestion, where do you have to put a billboard, which sort of billboard do you have to put there, what is the distance between one billboard and the other, and then there is what you've been asking, and who we need to know what message you're going to put up in the city. This is part of the regulation. Everything that is going to be consumed by the public, we has to, in a way, be vetted. Most especially when these messages go up and there is an issue, and it is always the city of Kigali that is called upon to address such issues. So
it's a way of regulation. And you also pointed out on the social media networks, Twitter, that it's a way of curbing or eliminating indecent billboards or
yes.
advertisements. What really do you mean by indecent? And if there's any example that you could mention to us?
Well, I won't mention particular names or cases, but we've had some cases where the public has complained about ads that show children and women in bad light, that show images that are indecent, and then we've had to go and manage issues when the billboards are already up. So this regulation is aimed at actually seeing what is actually going up there. And some people were talking about creativity, about confidentiality. We won't tamper with people's concept of what they want to do, what they want to show. But what we need to know is that isn't this offending or actually showing members of our community, some members of our community, in bad light.
Those who are arguing and saying we still haven't been given any proper guidelines of how our billboards should look like as far as standards of the City Council are concerned. So are there any guidelines, proper guidelines that need to be followed, how those billboards need to look like? Because at the end of the day, business people who need their adverts up there go through a lot to prepare them, and it will be saddening for them to be disapproved for putting up there. So what kind of guidelines do we have already at the moment concerning this?
There are guidelines. Probably the problem was the flow of information to some of these communication companies. But at the forefront, as the city, we've been dealing with outdoor advertising companies. And these ones are the ones that we've been in contact with. And at first, they are the ones that were contacted. And then even in the meeting we had with them yesterday, there was a need that we also bring on board even other companies that are involved in the whole advertisement industry. But we are still talking to them, and even there are discussions with other institutions to see how we can actually work together. Given that up to now we don't have an association of advertisers as it is in other countries, so it is pretty difficult to get all of them in one association or in one meeting or anything like that.
So as we speak, maybe for that member of the public who is not in this group of people who want to advertise but is really concerned about this information that is coming out, what do they need to know? Those people who have interest in this whole story, as far as the guidelines are concerned, are there any 2 or 3 that you can mention to us that no billboard should have this, no billboard should be XYZ type of information? What can you tell us at this point?
Well, one is what I had told you. Now we have a problem of congested billboards at junctions and roundabouts. And actually they've been a problem to visibility, and in some cases they even cause accidents. So billboards will be moved at least 50 meters from the junctions and roundabouts. And another thing, between one billboard and the other, we need to have 100 meters at least. All billboards will have to be insured. Given that you've the weather, you've seen very many of them falling down and damaging cars, damaging people's buildings and properties, so they need to be insured. And it is also good for the owners of those billboards. Another thing that hasn't been actually regulated is the structures of these billboards. Now they need to give their plans to the engineering, to the one-stop center engineering department to actually approve the structures and of these billboards, because some are even bigger than houses. Yeah.
But that's on the issue of congestion and the physicality or the positioning of these billboards. What of the content part?
Yeah, on the content part, it's generally issues to do with indecency, about showing men and women and children in bad light.
What do you mean by
for example, if you're going to... Once we had a problem of an image, or it was the structure that was put up in the city showing women and their role. But the image that was being depicted was a woman carrying a very big container with 2 children in her hands, and we got complaints from women organizations. There are such images.
So basically, there are those who say there's less information from the City Council concerning this very important decision. What would you say about that? Have you communicated enough?
Well, on this particular issue, I also agree that there was a problem on the communication. Probably it also depended on who the people we thought were actually concerned in this particular industry, who are the outdoor advertisers. But after we had actually to find out that there is a whole range of people behind the advertisers. Well, we've learned lessons out of this, and I hope it'll help us in other cases.
So where do we move from here? What happens next? Directive is out. A lot of mixed reactions concerning this. So what happens from here?
What happens from here is that we shall continue meeting these different groups in the advertising industry to share more ideas about this, and actually see a way we can work together and find an amicable way we can work together to see this thing working out.
So as you discuss, will the directive still take effect, or it's
the directive still stands, and what we are only doing now is how we can address. Generally, let me tell you, generally the reaction we got even from the people in this business is that we don't have any problem with regulation. Where we only have issues is the time. How can we even make it shorter? That is one. Another thing was confidentiality.
And what was the answer to that, especially confidentiality? Confidentiality,
actually, on our side, we didn't see it as a problem, but in order to have the trust and confidence of our partners, the people in the advertisement industry, we are talking to the private sector federation to see at least if they can have a member from the federation to sit on that team that does the vetting to actually represent their interests.
Bruno, finally, don't you feel that this whole idea is going to come back crumbling down? Because what comes out now is you already have a directive, but you are now moving to now have negotiations with people who you'd like to take part. For example, the private sector that you're mentioning right now. Also the negotiations that you're saying that are still ongoing. What if there is no proper commitment or proper support? How does this project go? Do we go back to the drawing board? It's a question of the egg and the chicken, which came first?
Let me give you an experience. The directive has been on since the end of last week. Actually, starting Friday, we've had companies sending their pieces to be vetted, and till today we've had lesser time to vet their pieces. We've had no problem with them. Probably this whole issue is that this is a new thing. Actually, it's the first time I told you this industry is being regulated, and the change is not easily taken on, and I believe with time all these issues will be solved.
Okay. Thank you, Bruno.
You're welcome.
Now, whether the concerns of those affected by this new directive from the Kigali City Council are going to be heard out or not is something that we'll all be waiting to see in the near future. For TV10 Weekend Edition, I am Eugene Anangwe.